He was charming, educated, handsome, and he killed over 30 women. This is the terrifying story of one of the most infamous serial killers in history, Ted Bundy. Born on November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont, Theodore Robert Bundy had a childhood built on deception. Raised by his grandparents, Ted believed for much of his early life that they were his parents and his biological mother was his sister. This lie shaped his fractured identity and may have fueled the psychological damage that would unfold in adulthood. His behavior was strange even as a child. Neighbors recalled him setting traps for animals, and once he placed knives around his sleeping aunt. As he grew, Bundy developed a dual persona, outwardly polite and intelligent, inwardly cold and manipulative. Despite being socially awkward in high school, Bundy eventually blossomed. He studied psychology at the University of Washington, where he became well-liked and was considered bright and capable. He dated, he dressed well. He volunteered at a suicide prevention hotline, ironically helping others cling to life while fantasizing about taking it. Bundy idolized power, control, and dominance. He was politically active and even worked on a Republican campaign. Colleagues saw him as charismatic and articulate, but this was the mask. Beneath it, Bundy was watching, waiting, rehearsing the violence he would one day unleash. Ted Bundy didn't just kill, he hunted, like a predator stalking prey. His victims were young, attractive women, often college students. Many shared the same physical traits: long dark hair parted in the middle, slender builds, confident demeanors. He was meticulous. He scouted campuses, parks, and libraries, observing, selecting, and planning. He would stage scenarios, wearing a fake arm cast or hobbling on crutches, and ask women for help, like loading books into his car. His car, a tan 1968 Volkswagen Beetle, was rigged. The passenger seat was removed. Once a woman leaned in to help, Bundy would strike, bludgeoning them and shoving them into the vehicle. The car became his trap, his lair. After abducting his victims, he would take them to remote locations, forests, mountainsides, cabins, where he raped and murdered them. Sometimes he strangled them. Other times he used blunt force as trauma. He often revisited the crime scenes to engage in necrophilia. He applied makeup to corpses, washed their hair, spoke to them. He kept souvenirs, jewelry, photos, even body parts. Bundy's crimes weren't about lust. They were about power, about complete and total control over a life and death. His killings were ritualistic, compulsive, and deeply rooted in his need to dominate. What made Bundy so terrifying was his mobility. In an era before computerized databases and widespread interagency communication, Bundy exploited the cracks in law enforcement. From Washington to Oregon, Utah to Colorado, and finally Florida, Bundy roamed free, killing, adapting, and learning from every mistake. He changed appearances constantly, parting his hair differently, shaving, growing facial hair, even wearing glasses. He altered his voice, clothing, and mannerisms. He was a chameleon. His killings left few clues. He left no fingerprints, no blood trails, and few witnesses. He was careful, cold, calculated. Police departments were unable to link the murders due to jurisdictional boundaries. Bundy seemed to vanish after each killing. Then just as quickly, he'd strike again. The pattern became clear only after dozens of victims. He was targeting young women near college campuses. By the time authorities recognized it, Bundy was already states away. Women were terrified. Hair salons reported a spike in requests to cut and dye long dark hair. Universities began issuing warnings. But the boogeyman was already planning his next move. Bundy was finally caught in August 1975. A suspicious traffic stop led police to a treasure trove of tools in his car: masking tape, rope, gloves, and a crowbar. He was arrested for attempted kidnapping, but that was only the beginning. In 1977, while on trial in Aspen, Colorado, Bundy was granted access to a courthouse library. Left alone, he opened a window and jumped 2 stories to freedom. He vanished into the mountains for 8 days before being recaptured. Back behind bars, Bundy began plotting again. Over months, he carved a hole in the ceiling of his jail cell. He starved himself to slim down and memorize guard schedules. Then in December, he escaped again. He stole a car, changed clothes, and drove across state lines. He eventually arrived in Tallahassee, Florida, where his bloodlust returned with terrifying speed. Bundy's escapes shocked the public. A serial killer on the loose not once but twice. The fear was real, and it was justified. On January 15, 1978, Bundy unleashed his most frenzied attack. He broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In just 15 minutes, he assaulted 4 women. He bludgeoned them with a log. He bit one victim's buttocks, leaving a distinctive mark. 2, Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, were murdered. The others were left critically injured. Hours later, Bundy attacked another woman 8 blocks away. No one saw him, no one stopped him. Days later, Bundy kidnapped Kimberly Leach, a 12-year-old girl. He lured her from school, murdered her, and left her body in a pig shed. She was found weeks later. Bundy's crimes had escalated, more savage, more desperate, more careless. But in his frenzy, he left evidence. The bite mark on Lisa Levy's body would become key. Forensic odontologists matched it to Bundy's teeth, an exact match. It was the first time bite mark evidence helped convict a murderer in U.S. history. Bundy had sealed his fate with his own teeth. Bundy was arrested in Pensacola, Florida, after being pulled over in a stolen car. He gave a fake name, but his fingerprints exposed the truth. His trials became media circuses. Bundy represented himself, turning the courtroom into a stage. He cross-examined witnesses, made theatrical speeches, and even proposed to a witness, Carol Ann Boone, in court. They later married. She bore his child while he was on death row. But charm couldn't save him. The bite mark, the fibers, and the testimonies piled up. In 1979, he was sentenced to death. While awaiting execution, Bundy gave interviews. He blamed pornography. He confessed to 30 murders, though some experts believe he killed over 100. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair. Crowds outside the prison celebrated, holding signs that read, "Burn Bundy, burn." The nightmare was over, but his legacy of terror still lingers. Ted Bundy redefined what a killer could be. He wasn't a monster hiding in the shadows. He was the man who smiled at you, who held the door open, who asked for help. He taught us that evil doesn't always snarl. Sometimes it charms, it deceives. It wears a face you trust. Bundy wasn't just a serial killer, he was a mirror. A reminder that the darkest monsters are the ones who hide in plain sight.